Ladies and gentlemen, it's summit day. We're heading 7 kilometers to the summit. Actually, summit 9, 12 midnight. We're going to be heading straight 7 hours at a slow pace to Uhuru Peak, highest point of Kilimanjaro, which is the highest freestanding mountain in the world. Speak to you soon. Nero out. So this was the main event. Our final ascent to the top of Kilimanjaro. So we were at Barefoot Camp, just a recap from yesterday. It was 4,600 meters, and the goal was to get to Uhuru Peak, which is the very top of Kilimanjaro. Now, before you get to Uhuru Peak, there's a peak before that called Stella Point. Now, Stella Point is 5,750 meters, and Uhuru Peak is 5,895 meters. Now, where we were yesterday was last night. We had finished early, had a final briefing for the ascent, where we just talked about this was the risk, these are the challenges, and we had to go and sleep at 7 p.m. to wake up at 11:30 p.m. on the night of day 6 to kick things off, pack our things, and get ready to do the final ascent. Now, Stella Point was 4.3 kilometers, 6 hours away, and Uhuru Peak, 5 kilometers, 7 hours away. Now, this seemed straightforward, but it wasn't. It was very challenging. Now, in the briefing, we were advised to put our water bottles upside down so that they don't freeze, because if it freezes at the top, and you won't be able to get the water out. So you put it upside down in your bag, and then you also have like a smaller bottle you put inside close to your body, like in your inner jacket. Now, because this was the final climb and it was full, you have to wear all 4 layers. So your shirt, your fleece, your puffer jacket, your windbreaker, and your overjacket, and head covering, balaclava, scarf, and gloves. Now, I wore my long johns under my trousers just for extra warmth. I wasn't taking any chances. You also get to take like your altitude pills, Diamox, just so that you're okay, because it's going to be really, really, really challenging at this point. Now, I was at the front. I started the climb. I did like my last vlog video, and I was excited, and I had no idea for the next 7 hours what was going to be my experience. Now, the climb started as always. We went out in a single file with a bigger group, all 21 of us, with more guides and locals, and the lead guide at the front as well because of the weather and the altitude. Now, the higher you go, the altitude really starts to get to you, to the point where you're walking and you're falling asleep. But the local guys, they always kept our spirits up. They were always singing and chanting and encouraging us to say after them, one team, one dream, to the top, non-stop. And we just kept moving. We moved slowly, pulley, slowly. It was going well, and then I felt it. It was just this sharp pain on my right side, and it just kept building up. I tried to bear it and push through while breathing, drinking water, but it was to no avail. Eventually, I was trying to walk and do the ascent, but I could barely stay upright. I was just hanging on my 2 poles. Eventually, I had to slow down and go to the back of the group and stop. Now, at this point, one of the guides took my backpack from me just so that I could focus on moving my body weight. But it didn't really help. So I saw the doctor and the head guide and told them about the food poisoning. I was given some painkillers and Imodium, drank some water, but I still could barely move. I felt really bad. Plus the cold, plus the altitude, you're trying to breathe. Now, the group had to keep going without me so that they're not exposed to the cold and the traffic, because you have other groups trying to go through this path and get to the top, so you don't want to block the traffic and block the way. Now, I was behind like a second group with the doctor and 2 other guides. Now, at this point, I was ill and just kept on drinking water. And each time I went to the bathroom, I went to pee, I just felt like I lost energy and electrolytes. So at some point, I was advised by the main guide and the doctor that I should just quit and climb and go back down. That if I'm feeling this way now, going up, how would I have enough energy to come down? Now, I told the guide confidently that I'm definitely making it to the top. So when I said that, him and the doctor left, and I was just left behind with 2 guides. So one of them who's a first responder. And just started going and had to just like push with willpower, and it just got harder and harder and harder. The pain and everything, the headaches, trying to stay conscious. It was really tough, to be honest. And I remember just praying, man, God, you need to help your boy. Now, at this point, just after I prayed, this was around the time when the sunlight came out. I think this was, the sun had just come out, sunrise. And at that point, I realized, once the sun came out, I looked up and I realized how far away I was from where I was meant to be. So based on the initial plan when we left at 12 midnight, when the sun was coming up was when we're meant to be getting to the first peak, so almost at the final peak. So it's like perfect. You have some sunlight, you have a little bit of warmth. I was still way, 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 way down. But yeah, just seeing how far away I had to go, it felt very hopeless. So what I decided to do was I just kept on, I struggled to just stay upright and keep going. So I just kept on getting up, moving for 10 paces, and then I'll stop, sit on a rock, drink some water, eat a biscuit, and repeat. Now the pain was still there, and the rest of my body, all everywhere, like my muscles, everything was screaming. I just had to ignore it and just keep moving. I really felt the weight of every single step, but I was like, I'm just gonna walk this thing out. I'm gonna walk my mindset out, my belief that I can get it done. But yeah, eventually at some point, from one of the guys, I got to have water and an energy drink, and this kind of made me throw up, made me sick and throw up. But the beauty was I felt really low energy, low fluid, but for the first time, because of that, the pain reduced a bit, and I could stand up straight. I was no longer bent over on my two poles. Now, at this point where the light was brighter, one of the guys who was the first responder mentioned that from what he could see, that I was in a really, really bad shape, like life-threatening shape, and recommended I stop and go down. Now, once you go down, they don't encourage you to come back up again if you're doing that final climb. That's it. Now, I told him I was better than before, and I was going to go all the way to the top. Like, nothing's going to stop me. So I just remembered the strategy then was just to focus my pace on the guide in front of me, like just look at his feet. Don't make any sudden head movements or raise my head up because it'll make you dizzy. And I didn't also want to look up so that I don't see how far away I am and get discouraged. So yeah, just kept on going. It was slow work. Now, in the mid-mark, when we're doing this final peak to Stella Point, we ran out of water. Now, throughout while I was ill, they kept on giving me from their water bottles, their spare. Mine had almost finished. Now, when we ran out of water, we were 3.5 hours away from the top and 3.5 hours away from going down. The only two places we could get water. Now, I decided to keep going. I stopped. I took out my water bladder, like the one you put in your bag, like a little pouch of water, and shared it with the other two guys. And suddenly I was the one encouraging everyone, like, let's go, let's go. But I think, to be honest, it wasn't just encouraging both of them that let's do this. To be honest, at some point I was just angry, that after everything, all the training, everything, this last climb, after all the preparation because of food poisoning, this would kind of want to stop me from achieving my goal of climbing to the top for Kilimanjaro and the bigger goal, raising awareness for climate change in Africa and the Congo rainforest. And so I just settled it with myself that I was going to get to the top no matter what. I did not care how I was going to come down. I would cross that bridge when I get there, but I was going to go. So based on that, kept up my really slow pace. The ground was steep, more loose rock and dusty sands and pebbles, which made it even more difficult. Now, eventually, I made it to the first peak, Stella Point, and I remember getting there. I took a picture of the two guys at the top, and I was getting there and like really angry and focused. And I spoke to the other guy, Ibrahim, and I was like, with like a serious face, like, Ibrahim, nothing is going to stop us. Nothing is going to stop us in this life. So at this point, they radioed the other guides and the head guides that I was coming through, that I'd reached the first peak. So I sat down there again, had some water, had some biscuit, got up and began to go again. Like I was going to get to that peak, the final peak, Uhuru Peak. Now, at this Stella Point, at an altitude of 5,756 meters, I could feel it all. I could feel the altitude, the absence of oxygen on my body on a whole different level, on a cellular level. I really had just kept to my routine of really keep my head down, breathe deeply, like just keep breathing deeply, don't miss a beat, no quick head movements, just consciously trying to stay conscious. Now, I took breaks when I needed because you could feel all your muscles, your back, your knees, everything. You just felt it more. But yeah, just kept going. And eventually, an hour and 15 minutes later, I made it. I made it to Uhuru Peak, 5,895 meters, tallest freestanding mountain in the world, and it was just incredible. My whole group was surprised to see me. They had been told that I went back down the mountain. I was glad to disappoint. I could, from one of the videos I saw later, I could see myself just coming in like this rate. Received a lot of congratulations and hugged everyone. A lot of other groups were there taking pictures at the peak. So I was excited, busted out my Nigerian flag proudly, waited for my turn, got on the top, took my pictures, and just felt amazing, felt on top of the world. Now, around, you could see the clouds, you could see the glaciers, the frost, and I just enjoyed the view, really let it sink in. Now, eventually, it was time to head down the mountain. I did a quick shout out to one of my friends who it was his wedding, and I missed it to do the climb. And I remember just thinking, it just felt different, I felt like it wasn't the same person who had climbed up and who had gone down. I felt transformed, reborn. I felt like anything was possible. I made my way back down carefully. Now, each time you go down, even if it's 100 meters, because of the better altitude, you feel much better. You feel the benefits instantly. So went down these greased slopes, helped by two guides, exercise because my legs were just gone. After a short rest and lunch break, continued further down to finally arrive at Millennium Camp, which was 3,750 meters. So we had gone from 5,895 to 3,750, where we celebrated, had dinner, and got an early night, and it was amazing. And it was just incredible. I remember that night playing Afro in my headphones, Lonely at the Top by Asake, and it was just incredible. We slept that night, woke up the next morning, had breakfast, had a final dance session with the whole group where we got to thank the group. There was a massive group that really prepared the trip for us. So we got to thank them, the cooks, the porters, the cleaners, even the toilet cleaners, everything. And did our final music dance, ate our lunch, and then we just headed down. I think it was about 13 kilometers descent through different forests, the rainforest climate again. So at some point it was raining, and eventually we arrived at the final camp where we started, and it was just incredible, so surreal. Kilimanjaro, hakuna matata. Naomba dada tucheze. Hakuna matata.